So I just spent 10 days in Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka is a Buddhist country, 75% Buddhist. Sinhalese. The Sinhalese language and the Sinhalese culture probably is an Aryan culture. It probably came from Bengal. It probably migrated from Calcutta, Dhaka, down to Sri Lanka maybe 1,700 years ago. But the Tamil culture, the language is more than 2,000 years old, and it is a Dravidian culture. It's only 15% of the population of Sri Lanka, but it's probably about 60% of the intellectual life of Sri Lanka. I mention that because when you think of tsunami, these two cultures, 2,000 years old, there's no word in the Tamil language for tsunami.
Yeah.
Is that right? That's what I was told that. I hope that's right.
Yeah.
There's no word in the Sinhalese language for tsunami. This is the first time in recorded history that there was a tsunami in Sri Lanka, and I presume in Tamil Nadu. I don't know that, but I think it's the first time in recorded history. So they had to deal with something that they've never dealt with before, and they really have dealt with it wonderfully. And the world has really shown itself in the best light of human potential by all the people who come together to try to help out. So in that spirit, the person who's brought all of us together for all of these years, my dear friend Dr. V, it's so wonderful to see you here. And if you could spend just a moment and tell us what you're doing now that you're 25 years old.
Right now, we are here on a program. One is to start a school of optometry in Pondicherry. The other is to start a school of hospital administrators in Pondicherry. Two of them are doing. I think you must have seen now the area of activity of Aravind is extending slowly, gradually. So also the Seva. Seva and Aravind always are together. And last month we had a workshop where we had candidates from Ecuador, or again?
From Guatemala.
Guatemala, Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, we have.
Armenia. So several parts of the world are interested in this model, Aravind model. How to give quality eye care at an affordable cost. This is a challenge now. Everybody is aware they want care, good care for their people. And surprising that some of the East European countries, like this Estonia, Albania, and another country, they're all very advanced countries, but they're suddenly lacking all the equipment and know-how. So they would like to work with us to see how best they can provide the basic care of their people in their countries also. I think Larry will tell you that Maharaji, his guru, and always say everything is done, there's a divine will behind it. You may not be able to know it, or you may be able to appreciate it, but this is what I have had experience of the last 25 years or 30 years also. So if we are able to understand the divine's will, then divine gives enough energy for us to push through also those forces. And that is how Seva and Aravind they worked for all these years. And now there is a call from some of the Southeast Asian countries for you,
But for us.
For us.
To work together.
Now one of the important things I feel is the community at large, the people in the villages are so got immense capacities once we show them that capacity and realize them also. Anybody who visits South India will see the colossal temples they have built 1,000 years back, 1,500 years back, 2,000 years back, which you can't even think of now doing this. Huge big temples. Now that energy is still there in the people. If you could get at them and make them come up with all their ideas and capacities, they can do wonderful things in the world. And the culture has been inculcated through centuries about dharma. It's a vast word, righteousness or whatever you call it. Even the ordinary village illiterate woman will say, this is not dharma. How on earth you can go and kill somebody? It's not dharma. How on earth you can do something like that? This is not in Ramayana. They will always quote Ramayana, even the illiterate people will quote Ramayana, that dharma is the basis on even the poor man's lives there. That this is not right, this is wrong. That basic value is there. And there is such an immense capacity. If we bring out that capacity in them and build hospitals or institutions, they can become a wonderful country in the world also. The idea was, in those days, somebody asked, a poet asked, where are you from? He said, I am from all parts of the world. The whole world is mine. All the people are my relatives. That vision was there 2,000 years back in that culture. It is not dead. Still alive, very much alive. So how to bring back that culture now? It's very interesting to do that one. And ordinary village human now I am trying to work with through the computers. The villages are getting more and more computers now there. And the information is available in local language. So once they know about it, they can go and dig in and find out what all they need for their community also. So material wealth will not be a big thing to give. The culture they had maintained of dharma is still there also. So I am very anxious to see the opportunities that are given to them to open up themselves. Even now, today, you can't get into a village in the night with somebody asking you for a meal. They think it is a sin if somebody just comes to the village and then sleeps without his being fed there. That culture is still very strong there. Such a rich culture, I think, can do lots of things which is, they think it is not difficult, we can do it also. So here is one more step we have to make now, how to bring in the ordinary information to the ordinary villager, so they can express, he or she can express themselves through various ways of it, whether it is small industries or organized society or values or healthcare or their society can't think of ideas like terrorism at all, killing somebody. For centuries they have been brought up in the culture of non-violence. When there have been kings, there have been battles and all those things, but there have been always a dharma in the battle.
Yeah.
You don't fight after evening, nights.
Right. Right.
Values are there so good that even today, how on earth you can go and kill a man who is not armed? You are armed, you can't go and touch a man. There is not righteousness part of it. Those values are still held on people all. So here is an opportunity for us both to work now. Both of us have to make plans for another 40 years. You see, the mind, the will is
not the hard part.
The will is there, and so we have to develop the next generation of people now, and there are lots of people who are willing to take up this cause of seva. And I am sure we always say that it is not your mind and will that is going to work. There is a divine behind you which is helping you, guiding you all the time. So open it up, open yourself up to that one, and that will make an instrument of you to do its work, the divine work. And I'm happy that the old people are back again here.
There's some young ones. Look at the young ones. Look, new, red blood, new blood, fresh faces.
Yeah.
I always remember the song of Waving Grave.
Oh.
This is what we need now, the community. And I feel quite confident that we have got a bright future. And just allow yourself for the force to work in you, and it will do wonders.
You know, I'm going to ask people if you have questions. I think if you look at world health and the efforts of peace in the world, you know, the United Nations is in very bad shape right now. There's scandals, and there's an attempt by the United States to starve the United Nations and make it go away. There's a lack of glue holding the world together. The international conventions are weakening, even the Geneva Accord, which is something that we all thought of as the Holy Grail, an attempt to kind of weaken it. So without the big institutions, and WHO is weaker than I've ever seen it. UNICEF is peripheralized. The NGOs, the private, almost the for-profit organizations working in development are in ascendance. So you look to what's the inspirational whole that makes the world get better every year instead of worse every year. And I would argue it is inspirational stories. It's success stories. It's anecdotes. Arvind. The fact that Dr. V, when he was 57, when all of us are starting to get tired already at 57, he could then think of something as big and noble as Arvind. And over the next 25 years, to see it grow to 6 hospitals and millions of patients being treated. But more importantly, that it is a guiding light to the whole world of public health. Not just ophthalmology, but all of medicine. I mean, there was a time when no one in the world of public health would ever say the word blindness or ophthalmology. You know, they weren't even part of the same universe. But now, Arvind is an inspiration in every school of public health. It's an inspiration in every walk of medicine, because he showed that you can deliver the best service at a low price to everybody, and that you can organize the delivery of care so it reaches every community. And it's an inspiration to the world. I think smallpox eradication was something like that too. It showed the world that people from all over the world could come together and battle a common enemy instead of battling each other. And that's what I think we need more of right now. We need success stories. We need inspirations. The way people have come together in this tsunami it's so amazing. I wish you could have been there to see the tent cities, the 100,000 tents in Sri Lanka, 20,000 lavender-colored tents from the Dutch, and 5,000 Australian green tents, and Austrian tents, and blue Japanese tents, and all together, not even worrying about who the boss was, or all just worrying about how they could deliver food and water. I mean, the tsunami was hell, but the response to it was divine. And you think about these 3 things: the response to the tsunami, the eradication of disease, Arvind as a model, and that's the star to fix your lights on when you decide what to do every morning. Because everything else is different than it was when we were younger. The certainties are gone. the world order is unstable. The hierarchy and the prioritization that we grew up thinking was, after the Second World War, was a secure way in which to view the world. That's not there anymore. But these inspirations will never, ever stop motivating people. I cannot go anywhere in the world without someone telling me about Aravind, without someone talking to me about what Dr. V and his family have done. That they are motivated by that in the polio program. In the polio program, they say, if Dr. V and his family at Aravind can do what they've done, surely we can eradicate polio. After the tsunami, I heard the same thing in Sri Lanka from the Tamils, who boasted to the Sinhalese, "We're Tamils. Don't you know that Aravind is in Tamil Nadu?" I didn't tell them they were Telugu people. I said, it's in Tamil Nadu. But that kind of inspiration that people take from those successes, they last a lifetime. And so we're just proud to be part of it, Dr. V, and we're honored that you're here, and we're always honored to be with you. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. V?
Dr. V, from your perspective in the field of eye care today, what would you say is the #1 major challenge?
It is a question that has been constantly before us. You remember some years back I wrote an article about McDonald's hamburger.
Hello.
I wrote an article
This is
saying
a joke, folks.
that if you could develop the management system of McDonald's hamburger to deliver hamburgers in any part of the world at a cost most of the people could buy, it's the same thing I could do for delivering eye care in any part of the world. What you need is how to train those people who can manage an hospital, how to train those people who can surgery or support people, all those things. If we have 100 or 200 teams, we can send it to any part of the world, train the local people there, whether it is in Laos, whether it is in Vietnam, whether it's Cambodia. What they want is give us a team which could help us in 6 months or 1 year team. And they could change our people and then they could move out to another place also. So we need to build teams, real practical people who can manage a good eye hospital, who can manage a volume of operations, prescription of glasses, and this capacity must be passed on to local people. The local people must be able to do it in a way to sustain themselves economically also. So we need more and more institutions to train people, management people, paramedical workers, doctors in our own way of organization, then we can succeed it.
I understand that it's usually the poorest people who suffer most from preventable blindness in the world today. And those poorest people are in rural areas, whereas hospitals tend to be in urban areas. And it's so difficult, so many barriers for rural people to come. How do you overcome that?
Now this is the thing that I am facing now. You see, all these years we have been running camps, going there to various places. Around the hospital there's about 1,500 camps in a year. Now if we can use the information technology, the computers available in the local villages now, and if we can make these people computer literate, making them get information about agriculture or health or anything like that one, then those people will start demanding. And these people who have been trained for it can go and do it. There must be no difference between an urban and rural area. Facilities, information is available in the same way as in urban areas also. And now communications are available. Roads are there, vehicles are there available also. Every nook and corner it goes there also. So once you are able to create a demand by creating awareness, then I am sure the problem can be solved. Because what now is happening now in a big country like India, all these big corporate companies are getting into rural areas. the big company ITC. Now they have gotten to business agriculture. They are setting up computation villages to improve the quality of rice or the quality of wheat, increase the yield of wheat, marketing it properly, so the farmer is happy about him. In the same way, Hewlett Packard is getting into villages. The Unilever is getting into villages. Almost all the big companies are getting into villages. They realize there is a huge big market. It may be it may be cheap, but the market is a huge big market. They can make money. I am sure this barrier will go soon, urban and rural, illiterate and literate also.
Do you remember Bob Tilden?
Pardon?
Do you remember Bob Tilden?
I know.
You know Bob?
Bob, I know.
But yeah. So I visited him in Indonesia.
Now this time?
Yeah, just for
He was here in Pondicherry in Madurai.
I was
Yes.
just there, and
Yes.
I saw him last week in Jakarta, and he is encouraging Arvind and Seva to work together to try to build a high-volume hospital in Java, in Indonesia, because there are 4 million cataract blind in Indonesia. And he has been spending a lot of time talking to the government of Indonesia. Helen Keller was going to do this, but they aren't doing it. Maybe they would join in. Are you interested in that?
Now, we have been, Najjar has been going up and down there, and if he can, you see, it looks like, oh, it can't be done. I feel it can be done. Once that confidence comes in you, and then you are able to show them, they pick it up. It needs more patience, that is all. I am sure succeed in Indonesia is a must. And that you know, I remember some years back, when you are talking about, somebody came from Sri Lanka to us.
Reggie Seaman.
And then he said,
Dr. Reggie Seaman.
I will do it. What you have done, I will do it. And in 2 months' time, you could produce a camp, 300 patients, and then operated them and showed them. So this is something which is feasible and possible.
In Sri Lanka?
Yes, Sri Lanka or in Indonesia or in any of the countries in the Far East.
I met with a fellow named Tambi Nagarajam. He's the promoter for the Apollo Hospital in Colombo.
I see.
And he is a big fan of Aravind. He is the director of Project Impact in Sri Lanka. And he's very much wants to come and visit with you. And
So this is why we are discussing today with the School of Optometry and School of Hospital Administration. If we can produce good people there, willing to go anywhere, we can solve the problem at all.
Can these strategies work just as well with other healthcare problems, or even other issues like literacy, or other healthcare problems? Sort of the same strategies that have inspired Aravind. Could that model be replicated even if it wasn't for eye care?
You see, now it will surprise you, the village women in India are being organized to form self-help groups, like in Bangladesh also. And lots of groups are very, dynamic. They're able to run their own finances. They're able to develop small-scale industries. And their community awareness has greatly increased, and their self-confidence has grown up like that. And now we are trying to work with them for eye care because they are close to the community. And they can easily identify people who are in need of eye care also. I think we have to put a lot of transparency. This is one thing which I learned about. When the villager knows that you are transparent, honest to the core, and you are interested in the welfare of the people, you will be surprised. In the early days when I had before Aravind Hospital started, the government of Tamil Nadu asked me to conduct camps. They gave me 750 rupees for each camp. That was meant to feed the patients for 7 days when they were operated, give them glasses and give them medicines also. But the greatest beauty was people came in thousands, villagers, and all of them were bilaterally blind. They couldn't see the food they were eating. They had not seen the faces of their children. They give us sight. And I was in a sort of a, what am I to do? I have no money. And the people looked at it, what is it you are worried about it? I said, how am I going to feed these people for 7 days a week? Leave that to us. You know how wonderfully they organized that one. A group was formed immediately for catering and food and all those things. The rice mill fellows will give all the rice. The vegetable market will give all the vegetables. The firewood people will give the firewood. The oil mills people will give oil mill. And they will cook and feed the people 7 days. Wonderful they did. In the same way, I had no money for glasses. He said, how many glasses you want? Tell us. You see, when the public comes to a support for you because they feel that you are struggling for their welfare. I remember sometimes we had 400 operations. You would have finished by 6 o'clock, 300 operations. And we know we are tired, dead tired. And then 1 or 2 more hours we can finish that. I tell my staff, don't give up. 2 more work, 2 more hours. They could see that one. How we are slugging to help those people. When you are doing so much, why not we came for? That gave us a big boost. That became almost a people's movement, and everybody wanted camps.
Yeah.
They were pouring money there, just like the tsunami, because they could see in the front of their eyes something was being done for their own people there, which they could not achieve at all. So the immense support came from the people. And once the community organizes itself, it does wonders.
I remember the first eye camp that you took George and I to was it was sponsored by some mill, some clothing mill, good friend of yours, on the road to Polony.
Huh?
On the road to Polony.
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, I'm trying to remember the name of the fellow. But he sponsored many of the early
Yes,
eye
yes,
camps
yes.
when Arvin was still 20 beds. That's a great question. Other questions? Come on. All right, another name.
What about what's next for Arvin? How can you keep growing? More satellites? More? What's next for Arvin?
What's next for Arvin?
What's her name?
What?
Her name.
Her name is Amy.
Amy.
You know Amy.
I know. Sergey, did you see? You see, when I have got people like Amy, you will find there are immense amount of people who are willing to help you. In 1964, I had organized a camp in a place like that one. 3,850 people had come there. And we were sweating. The community is a very strong community there. By stroke of 12, you can't imagine, 3,850 packets of rice, curd rice and sambar rice came and distributed to them. What an amount of effort they must have made to that. See, that is the one that pushes us to do that. Why this community must be called as backward or they're all good people and they got capable people, they got a vision, they must come up nicely. Not to dominate over somebody or rule over somebody, but they can have their own culture and civilization. I am sure, more sure, now Larry has come back again.
Sundar, you must have a question for Dr. B. I can just feel it. I can feel that you have a burning question.
Yeah, a lot of questions.
Now Nepal has come up beautifully. if Lumbini has an excellent team now, and Lahant he was there with us also.
Was he recently?
And I'm sure with all the political problems and all those things, still we are a vibrant nation and we have to come up. Our people are vibrant.
Well, my question would be, of course, when there is this belief in divine thinking, and then the motivation is service, and then there is this culture that we are talking about. It's, I think, relatively easier to interact with them and to get something going about a model or something. But when that is not there, when the whole motivation is survival, or the whole motivation is, whole context is suspicion, doubt, disbelief, injustice, that sort of background, or the whole motivation is for profit, for something, for money. And when we encounter such a situation, then when we talk about we should be helping others, we should be compassionate, we should be, somehow we just not, but it's not sinking. So that is one of the struggles.
Yeah.
How do we overcome that? How do we do not have a language to talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is
Yeah. Did you hear his question? It's a very good question, Dr. V. He said, in a culture where Dharma is ascendant and where the daily conversation is about Dharma, it's easy to draw on the goodwill of people.
Yes, yes.
And it's easy that your acts are seen as goodwill. But when in the Kali Yuga, when everybody is taking money or political agitation or selfishness, everything looks the opposite. How do you build on? How do you try to do the same thing in a bad community that you can do in a good community?
I think it's a good question now because all our Vedas say Dharma will win. The ascetic forces will go down. Isn't it? Whether it is Krishna, Rama, everybody said like that one. So this is a passing phase. I will not lose hope of the victory of Dharma. So I'll work as I used to work hard, and I'm sure Dharma will win. All this terrorism, all these things, it's only a passing phase, I think.
You know, I was in Indonesia. Before I went to Indonesia, the U.S. State Department called me and said, "We don't recommend you go to Indonesia. It's a land Muslim terrorists." So I had to sign a paper saying I was going anyway. Yeah. So I went to Indonesia. They're the nicest people in the whole world.
Yes.
They're the sweetest people. I mean, you can't even, you can't hold in your mind these two very different experiences. What the State Department has told you, they're agitating and they're terrorists, and the reality of how happy they were to see someone come, how grateful they were. In Sri Lanka and Indonesia, there's a new kind of pollution. It's street signs that say, "Thank you, the world, for helping us." I mean, you can't even drive 2 blocks without seeing people saying, "The Rotary Club of this block, or the Lions Club, or this Dharma group, or this Imam, thank you, world, for helping us." I mean, so there's the reality, which is wonderful people, and then there's the PR, I think. I think you've got a window that makes people look worse than they are. What I saw on this trip was a reminder of how wonderful people are at their basic nature, and how easy it is to make them into cartoons and caricatures and make them seem worse than they are. Even in Nepal, I'm sure, where right now it seems hopeless, seems like there's three incompetent groups fighting with each other. But we all know how good the Nepali people are. And it's just it's an illusion, I hope. I mean, certainly in Indonesia, I was taken aback by how good the people were and how wonderful.
People are quite nice and
very nice people.
yes.
How close to the McDonald's model do you think you've come?
You see, the whole idea is the model is only for system. I am not enamored of the McDonald's hamburger. You see, here is an organization which is able to open once in 3 hours a restaurant and is able to produce the same quality of French fries or hamburger in any part of the world. Whether it is color of the French fries or the taste of it or smell of it or length of it. If they can do it in the same way in surgery, in eye, in different parts of the world, then it is not a major problem at all. Operating now in the whole world, we say now about 7 or 8 million cataract operations are being done. If you have the organization like McDonald's hamburger, this is not a big job at all. We can do it in any part of the country of the world also. System, how they train their people, how they standardize all the equipment, and quality also is maintained high also. A lot of organizations now in the corporate sector, for instance in India, the two-wheelers, an aggressive marketing, they take in a lorry about 20 of these two-wheelers and then almost sell it in the streets. You have it around the powerful marketing. As they say this year 5 billion two-wheelers have been sold in rural areas only. So when powerful organizations like that can market health also, good eyesight, clean water, proper nutrition, then the whole world can be changed. What power and system they have got, these corporate companies have got, how to bring it into health delivery system.
You know, there's a lot of very funny Seva stories of the old days. As all these different cultures had to mix themselves, you know, Seva being a stronger hybrid, I think, because of all of our strange cultures. But one day we had a meeting and Ramdas was talking about how he'd just gone on a yatra, which is a religious pilgrimage, and he'd gone to Henchi. And Danny Goleman, who's an old Seva Buddhist meditator, talked about how he'd just gone to see the Dalai Lama, Buddhist yatra. And Dr. V said, well, that's nothing, I've just been to Chicago. And they said, well, what do you mean you've been to Chicago? Dr. V said, I've been to Hamburger University.
Imagine the amount of propaganda these tobacco fellows do to make you smoke, isn't it? If we can do it for health.
All right, maybe time for one more question. Ruth, you know all of Seva's secrets. What's your question?
How do you see Seva evolving in the next couple of years? How can we be better doing what we are trying to do now?
What is it?
How can Seva do a better job helping you? Seva's back. What can we do now?
As I told you in the beginning, you see there is a divine force pushing both and me also. We are not aware of it as you don't see it constantly, but there is certainly a force which is pushing you and me together. If we do our work in not an egoistic way, but in a humble way, that we made better instruments for this work, then work is done by us through work. So, all that we aspire is to see that we become better instruments for this work. As you said, that some of the organizations may fail, whether it is United Nations or it is WHO, but the new organizations will come up and will take it up also. So Seva and Aravind are doing all the time work together also. I am sure this bondage will be more and more in the years to come. Whether you like it or not.
Perfect. Wavy's got a song?
And wouldn't it be neat if the people that you meet had shoes upon their feet and something to eat? And wouldn't it be fine now if all humankind had shelter, basic human needs, basic human deeds, doing what comes naturally down in the garden where no one is apart. Deep down in the garden of your heart. And wouldn't it be grand if we all lent a hand so each one could stand on a free piece of land? And wouldn't it be thrilling if folks stopped their killing and started in tilling the land, like in the Middle East right now? Basic human needs, basic human deeds, doing what comes naturally down in the garden where no one is apart. Deep down in the garden of your heart. Not just churches, not just steeples, give me peoples, helping peoples. Well, help yourself and work out till the stars begin to shout. Oh, thank God for something to do. Basic human needs. Basic human needs. Basic human deeds. Doing what comes naturally down in the garden where no one is apart. Deep down in the garden of your heart. Here's the verse I wrote for Seva. What a great day it would be if everyone could see, if no one was blind unnecessarily, 'cause it's hard, yes, it's hard to be blind and disable basic human needs. Basic human needs now, basic human deeds, doing what comes naturally down in the garden while no one is apart. Deep down in the garden of your heart. Last verse. And wouldn't it be daring if folks started sharing instead of comparing what each other was wearing? And wouldn't it be swell if people didn't sell their Mother Earth basic human needs? Last time with gusto, basic human needs, yeah. Basic human deeds, doing what comes naturally down in the garden where no one is deep down in the garden of your heart. Ow!
Wonderful.
This is a round of applause.